And for today, we're going to need 2 blocks and a blanket. And then once you have all your stuff, we're going to start lying down on our stomach. I'm going to mute everyone. And when you find yourself on your stomach, you're going to find yourself in heads up, 7-up. So stacking forearms underneath or on top of one another, putting your forehead on top of your forearms. And then notice if it feels better for you to have your big toes touching and your heels splayed, or your heels together and your toes pointing out. Julie, I think you turned off your camera. And then the first thing, there we go. The first thing that we'd like to do when we find ourselves in this position is I want you guys to notice where you can soften any tension around your shoulders. Notice if you're holding any tension around your abdomen, your pelvis. See if you can let go of any tightness around the legs, the toes. And then come back up to the top of the body and notice if there's, again, any tension in the shoulders, any tension in the face, any tension in the breath. And you'll just spend the next 3 to 4 minutes here breathing. And with every inhalation, I want you to remind yourself that you are right where you were supposed to be. And with every exhalation, letting go of any tension that's not needed in this moment. You might begin to notice that the more you can let go, you'll find that the abdomen starts to distend. It'll start to press down and into the floor. And that might find a bit more spaciousness in the low back and in the pelvis. You might find that as you're continuing to soften and release any resistance about being in this position, that the body begins to open in very calming and nurturing ways. And we'll just take about another 4 to 5 breaths here, seeing how you can allow every inhalation to become a little bit deeper, a little bit fuller, and how you can allow every exhalation to just soften. Great. At the end of this next exhalation, gently start to push your forehead down into your forearms and maybe rock it a little bit right to left, starting to create a little bit more movement. And then you'll go ahead and gently lift the head up and away from the forearms, enough to release the hands to the floor. From here, press into your hands and knees, and then draw yourself back to a child's pose. So big toes touching, knees as wide as they need to be. And you'll just take 3 to 5 breaths here. Again, really allowing the weight of your chest to rest on the thighs or between the space of the thighs. Noticing what it feels like to breathe into the upper chest and the upper back. And then noticing what it feels like to breathe into the low belly and the low back. Nice work. On your next inhalation, let's come up to hands and knees. And when you find yourselves in that tabletop position, if you need to, you'll prep or pad the knees with that blanket. And then from here, just take a series of cats and cows. And we're going to take about 10 cats and cows today. From the first 2, I just want you to move the spine. So flexing and extending the spine. Noticing what it feels like to breathe into the body and into the spine specifically. And then after you've taken just a couple of those, I want you to start to articulate the spine. So you might start your cat pose from curling from the head all the way down to the tailbone and feeling what that feels like. You might notice what it feels like to take your cow pose from the tailbone through the belly, through the ribs, through the neck, through the head. And you might take two just like that, seeing what it feels like to start at the top of the crown as you round into your cat pose. And then from the bottom of the spine as you inhale into your cow pose. And then you might find that you want to try the opposite of that. So maybe you round into cat from the tailbone through the crown, and that you want to go into your cow pose from the head through the neck, through the chest, through the belly, through the pelvis. And you're just noticing what you notice, letting yourself be here right now completely with yourself and with your breath. And then for this last two sets, you do whatever feels better to you, whether or not you just flex the whole spine and round the whole spine or extend the whole spine, whether you articulate from the tail to the crown or the crown to the tail. Fantastic. And then as you're ready, you'll gently inhale and come to a neutral spine. From here, draw your left hand underneath your face. And then inhale, sweep your right arm up towards the sky for a twist. You might take some wrist circles with that top hand, but make sure you're continuing to breathe. And if you took the wrist circles one way, you might change directions and go the other direction. And then take one more big breath in here. And then the next time you exhale, thread that right arm underneath you, bringing the back of the hand, the shoulder, the arm to the floor, the right ear to the floor. You might then need to move your left hand. Some of you will continue to press down into the back of the right hand, back of the right shoulder, and isometrically draw that right hand back towards you. You might then press more into your left hand and rotate more of the left ribs up towards the ceiling. You might walk the left hand in front of you. Some of you might even reach the left arm up towards the sky and maybe take a half bind, but you're paying attention to where you are and allowing yourself to remind yourself that where you are, no matter what variation you're in, is perfectly great. It's perfectly fine. You've got two more breath cycles here, and I want you to see if you can breathe in a little bit deeper and exhale a little bit more completely. Nice job, guys. If you took some arm variation, bring that left hand back to the floor. As you're ready, inhale, sweep the right arm back up towards the sky. And then exhale, lower the right hand down underneath the right shoulder, left hand under the left shoulder. Take a series of cats and cows here, just two, just to notice what you notice. Great. When you're ready, you'll find yourself into a neutral position. Walk the right hand a little bit underneath you, so it's underneath your face, and then inhale, sweep the left arm up towards the ceiling. Again, you might take some wrist circles. And if you do, make sure you take a couple each direction. So you might need to switch sides now or switch directions. And then as you're ready, you'll inhale, find a little bit more length through the spine, and exhale, dive that left arm underneath you, carving through space, bringing the back of the left hand, left arm, left shoulder, left ear down to the mat. And then notice if you want to adjust that right hand. From here, you might press down into the back of the left hand, left shoulder, and isometrically draw them back towards your left shoulder blade. And then just breathe. Again, the right arm might walk forward towards the top of your mat. You might reach the right arm up towards the sky and take a half bind, but you're just paying attention to what feels appropriate for you, what feels like it's an easy, joyful, pleasant experience for you. We've got about 2 more breath cycles here. And then at the end of your second exhalation, if you took that arm variation, bring the right hand back to the mat. And then inhale, sweep the left arm up towards the sky. And exhale, lower the left arm underneath the left shoulder, right arm under the right shoulder, and then take a cat and a cow. And then after you take your simple cat and cow, you might decide you want to look to your right hip and then look to your left hip. But you've got about 2 more breath cycles here. So you're just paying attention to what this feels like. Great. And then let's go ahead and find ourselves into a neutral still point. Go ahead and flip the back of your hands, or rather, flip your fingertips so they face towards your knees. Back of the heels of the hands are facing towards the front of the space. Curl both sets of toes under, and you'll inhale and look forward, and then exhale and shift your weight back. And you're just going to take about 4 of these. So inhaling, coming forward, exhaling, shifting your weight back. You're lightly stretching the backs of the wrists. And you'll do that about 2 more times on your own, just noticing what it feels like to open up the backs of the wrists. Fantastic. This next time that you come forward, go ahead and turn your hands to their normal orientation. Walk your knees and ankles together. And then you'll press the tops of the toes into the floor. Start to walk your knees back and sit your pelvis on your heels. And so once you find yourself in your toe squat, you may need to curl your pinky toes under a little bit just to sit tall. And then go ahead and reach your left arm up, bend your left elbow, grab your left elbow with your right hand. And we'll take a few breath cycles here in your toe squat. And you just want to notice. And you allow your front ribs to drop down and then back towards your spine. Can you allow your head to be centered over the center of your pelvis? And can you notice if you're holding any tension around your mouth or your jaw as you're breathing? And then on your next in breath, go ahead and reach up through the right arm, reach up through the left, and you'll switch sides. So gently bend the right elbow, grab the right elbow with your left hand. Draw the right elbow towards the midline as you press it out towards the right. And then check in with your head. Is it over the spine? Check in with your ribs. Are they drawing in and down? And then just notice what's happening with your breath. One more steady, calm breath cycle here. And then as you're ready, inhale, reach up through the left arm, reach up through the right. As you exhale, both hands come down to the floor. Extend the tops of the feet to the floor and pitter patter your toes if you'd like, having a happy little temper tantrum. And then gently you'll shift your weight back and maybe take a counter stretch, lifting one end or both knees up and away from the floor. Just paying attention again to how the body is breathing. How are you breathing? A lot of times when we get caught up, or at least when I get caught up in my head, my breath becomes very shallow. And then that makes whatever anxieties or worries I might have a lot more intense. All right. As you're ready, let's go ahead and come forward back to hands and knees. If you have that blanket there, you probably want to keep it there. Keep both hands underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips. Go ahead and slide your left leg back, curl the toes under, and press your foot down into the mat as you maybe pulse a little forward and back just to stretch the back of your left calf. Once you've done that a few times, go ahead and come to stillness. Press down into the right knee, press down into the left foot, and draw your low belly in. On your next in-breath, float your left leg parallel-ish to the floor, and you'll reach out through the whole left heel, really pushing the left heel back like you're trying to stamp your heel onto the wall behind you. Now on your next in-breath, find a little bit more length from tail to crown. And then as you exhale, round under, drawing your knee towards your nose towards your knee. And then inhale, send the foot back and away, crown forward and away. Yep. And then exhale, do that again. Knee to nose to knee. And then inhale, lengthen the spine. Now you can repeat that 4 more times on your own, or if you'd like, you can take the opposite elbow in and then reach the opposite arm and leg away from each other. So choose to do what works best for you. So you might reach the right arm forward as the left leg goes back, and then hug the right elbow towards the left knee. Great, and we're gonna do a total of 6. Nice work. This next time, I think this should be our 6th one, that the arm and the leg goes away from each other. We're gonna stay there and hold. So make sure your left knee and toes are pointing down to the floor. Reach out through your right arm and draw your low belly in. And as weird as this sounds, I want you to pretend that this is a plank pose. So how would you push down into that left hand and draw the ribs up as you're in plank for 3, as you're in this fake plank for 2, and this bird dog for 1. Exhale, lower the right hand, lower the left knee, take a cat and a cow or the little side body stretches, but just notice what you're feeling from side to side. How does the right side feel in comparison to the left? Fantastic. And then let's go ahead and come to a neutral spine, come to stillness, and we'll try all that on the other side. So press your hands down, slide your right foot back, keeping the toes tucked under, curled to the floor. You'll pulse forward and back a few times just to open up the back of that right calf. And then go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. Push down into the hands, push down into the left shin, and inhale, float your right leg parallel-ish to the floor. Now, once it's there, stabilize the core, take a big breath in, and then exhale, curl under, rounding your right knee towards your nose towards your knee. And then inhale, send the leg back, and behind you. Yep. And you'll do that one more time on your own. Exhale, rounding in, curling in. Now, if that works for you, by all means, stay there, just working the leg. If you want to, you'll add in the opposite arm. So your left elbow will come toward your right knee, and then your left arm will go away from your right leg. And you're just working bird dog, having your limbs, and then your core. And you're seeing how this feels as you do this. Yep. We're doing a total of 6. Nice control, guys. This should be your last one. So the next time the right leg goes back and the left arm goes forward, just stay there. Make sure the right toes and the right knee point down. Push down into your right hand, scoop up through the belly and breathe for 3. Lengthen through the crown for 2. See if you can soften anything not needed for 1. Exhale, lower left hand, lower right knee, take a cat and a cow. And just notice what you notice between the right side and the left side as you do that. Fantastic. On your next in-breath, let's go ahead and come to a neutral spine. Keep both sets of toes curled under. Walk both feet to your left. Both feet to your left. Okay. Actually, just walk your left foot to the left. Slide your right leg straight back. And then start to stack your right shoulder on top of your left as you open up for this weird side plank variation. Now, as we're here today, we're going to do something a little unusual. So I want you to push down into your back foot, push down into your underneath arm, and reach up through your top arm. So as you're reaching up through your right arm, take a moment to pause here. On your next exhale, I want you to lower the right hand to touch the left thumb. And then inhale, come back up. We're looking to stretch your QL on the right side. We're going to do that 3 times. So the QL is the muscle in the front, well, actually in the back between your hip and your ribs. But sometimes, because of how it interdigitates, you might find that you find this feeling on the front of your hip as well as the back of the hip, or maybe only feel it on one of the 2. All right, the next time your right arm comes up, we'll have it come down one more time just for kicks and giggles. This time as it's near the left thumb, sweep it forward along your ears, and you'll roll your chest into this normal side plank variation. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will bring your right hand to the back of your head. Now, as you stay here, you might pull your head into your hands into your head, push down into your left your right foot, push down into your left knee, left arm, and you'll find a stretch happening across your hips. You might find it in your back. Make sure you're breathing. You might even find it in the side body on the right side, top side. Awesome sauce. As you're ready, gently release. Inhale, drawing the right hand to the floor and coming back to that neutral tabletop position. Again, take a cat and a cow just to notice what you notice between the sides. And then go ahead and come to stillness, and we'll try all that on the other side. So curl your right toes to the right, slide your left leg long and back, and then stack your left shoulder on top of your right. Extend your left arm up towards the ceiling. And then as you're ready, you'll exhale, curl your left hand down to touch your right thumb. And then inhale, open the arm back up towards the ceiling. Yep, and you've got about 3 of those, well, 3 more of those rather. And you're just feeling what you feel. Great. And this is our last one. So the next time your left hand comes towards the floor, pause there. Now sweep it forward towards the short edge of your mat. Roll your rib cage under, so right ribs under. And then you're just going to pause there. Some of you will stay right there, pressing into the knife edge of your left foot. Some of you will bring your left hand to the back of your head, push your head into your fingertips, curl your fingertips into your head. And then you might even lean back a little bit as you're pressing onto the outside edge of your left foot, trying to find a nice stretch all along the left side body. Yeah. And then as you're ready, we're going to gently release, lowering the left hand to the floor, coming back to hands and knees. And this time, curl both sets of toes under and start to press yourself back to a downward facing dog. And keep your knees bent for this first down dog. Keep your knees super bent for this first down dog. And you want to push your hands down and forward. Lift your hips up and away. And just take a moment to breathe here, noticing how the shoulder feels, noticing how the body feels. And the knees are bent, so we're not stretching the hammies just yet. Great. And then as you're ready, we're going to take 3 of these. You're going to push down into the feet, roll through your tailbone, and ripple forward into a plank. So rolling the spine forward into a plank. Yep. And then you'll exhale, bend the knees, lift the hips back to downward facing dog. Inhale, push down, ripple forward through into a plank, from the tail to the crown, coming all the way into a plank. Yep. And then exhale, bend the knees, hips back. 3rd time's the charm. Ripple forward through into a plank. Yeah. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Okay. This time, you're going to ripple so far forward that you find yourself into a chaturanga, lowering all the way down onto your belly. Yeah. Nice job, guys. Fantastic. Once you find yourself there, extend the tops of the feet to the floor. And then inhale, come into your version of cobra. We're going to do a lot of cobras today. So they're going to gradually get deeper. This first one will be pretty small. And then you'll exhale and lower down. Inhale into hands and knees, and exhale back to a downward facing dog. Great. All right. Next, in breath, sweep your right leg up and back. Find as much activation by pushing out through your right heel as we did in that bird dog. And then as you exhale, knee to nose, step that right foot quietly between the hands. Fantastic. At this point, you might bring your hands to blocks or keep them on the floor. It's totally up to you. And then you'll inhale and gaze heart forward, and then exhale, straighten your front leg long, shifting the pelvis back. And you've got 4 of these, and you're just noticing what it feels like to inhale, ripple through the spine, reaching the heart forward, reaching the tailbone back. Yeah, there you go. And then exhale, shifting the pelvis back, rolling through the spine, straightening the front leg. Yep. 2 more on your own. So you're just trying to find as much extension through your spine. There are teachers like Iyengar that say you are as young as your spine is supple. And so we're spending a lot of time rolling through the spine because generally if you're moving it, it just keeps it supple. All right. The next time you come forward into your low lunge, let's pause there. All right, so we all have our right foot forward. So with your right foot forward, step your left hand a little bit closer towards your right foot so it's more underneath the center of your spine. Bring your right hand to the outside edge of your right leg. Inhale, reach your heart forward, and then exhale, start to scoop your right low belly in and see if you can draw your left armpit closer towards your right inner thigh. You might stay there happy as a clam. Some of you might reach up through your top arm, but you're just taking a gentle twist. So right leg is forward, left heel is reaching back, heart is reaching forward, left armpit inching its way towards your right inner thigh. And then on your next exhale, go ahead and lower the hand back to the mat. Step back, downward facing dog. From down dog, push through the feet, roll through the spine, ripple forward into your plank pose through chaturanga. And then inhale into your little baby cobra. This time it might be a little bit higher than the last time. And then exhale, you'll lower all the way down. With control, inhale through hands and knees. And then exhale back to downward facing dog. And just noticing, how's the body? How's the breath? How are you? Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. Reach out through your heel, and then exhale, knee to nose, rounding the spine forward, stepping the left foot between your hands. Hands might then come to blocks. And then you'll inhale and you'll gaze forward. And then you'll exhale, straighten the front leg long, shift the pelvis back. And then inhale, coming forward, rippling from tailbone all the way through head. And then exhale from pelvis all the way to crown. And you're just noticing, yeah, there you go, Sandy, what it feels like to actually get your head involved with the work of your legs. There you go. So both in that modified pyramid pose involving the head, and as well as when you're coming back into that, or coming forward into that low lunge, let the head be involved, but don't let it always lead. There we go. Fantastic. The next time you find yourself in your low lunge, let's go ahead and stay there. With your left knee super bent, walk your right hand a little bit closer to your left foot so it's underneath your spine. Bring your left hand to the outside edge of your left thigh. Inhale, reach your crown forward, and as you exhale, scoop the low belly on the left side, push down into the right hand, draw the right armpit closer to the inner left thigh, draw your outer left hip back, and some of you will stay here happy as a clam. Some of you might reach up through that left arm, finding a rotation in this lunge, but you're just paying attention. Wherever you are is perfectly fine. Where you are is where you're meant to be. You are good. Awesome sauce. Next in-breath, go ahead and lower that left hand back to the floor. Plant the hands on the mat. Step back to downward facing dog. When you find yourself in down dog, inhale, roll the spine forward into that plank pose, and exhale through chaturanga all the way to your bellies. You'll then inhale into your baby cobra, and you might gradually find that these are becoming bigger. They don't have to be balls to the walls to start, but they'll gradually get bigger. There you go. And then exhale, lower all the way down. Your choice, inhale through hands and knees or plank pose. And then exhale, make your way back to downward facing dog. Great. 3 breaths. And just notice what you notice. Can you allow yourself to be fully present in this moment with your body and your breath? Nice work, guys. Let's move on. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. So that's the same leg we just worked. Exhale, knee to nose, step that foot between your hands. Fantastic. With your left leg forward, spin your right foot to the floor. And you might want to walk a block underneath your right hand. You might be totally fine without it, but it's totally up to you. But then we're going to take that same thing. So you'll inhale, curl your right arm up towards the sky. And then exhale, lower the right hand back down. And 3 more of those. Inhale, coming up with the right arm. And then exhale, drawing the right hand back down. Last one. Inhale, drawing the right arm up. Exhale, drawing the right arm down. Now, sweep your right arm forward towards the top of your space. Push down into your left foot, left arm and left knee push into each other. Roll your left rib cage under, your right rib cage on top, and you'll find yourself in an extended side angle. And then we'll just breathe here for 3 to 5 breaths. And you're just noticing what you notice. You might feel that this is a deeper pose than it normally is, and that's okay. Wherever you are is perfectly where you're meant to be. Nice work. On your next inhalation, go ahead and lower your right hand to the floor, pivot to the ball of your back foot, and step yourself back to a downward facing dog. Happy to stay there if you'd like, or you'll inhale, roll the spine forward into plank pose. Exhale through your chaturanga, and then inhale into your baby cobra, which might be a little bit bigger than it was before. Exhale, lower down, and then inhale through hands and knees or plank, and exhale back to downward facing dog. You just pause and you breathe and you notice what you notice. How's the body? How's the breath? How are you? Let's try the other side. So next inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. As you exhale, knee to nose, step that foot quietly between your hands. Spin your left foot to the floor for extended side angle. Bring the block underneath your right hand. And then you'll inhale and sweep your left arm up towards the sky. And then exhale, lower it down. Barbara and Steve, you might try bringing the right hand on the inside edge of the right foot. There we go. And so you're inhaling, uncurling the left arm up towards the ceiling, and then exhaling, touching the left fingers down towards the right thumb. Awesome. And then this next time your left hand comes down, you're going to pause there and then sweep the left arm forward towards the top of your space, pushing the right elbow into the right knee into the right elbow, and rolling your right rib cage under, left rib cage on top, and just finding what this feels like here for you. And you'll just take a couple breaths here, finding lots of breath. Nice work. As you're ready, inhale, lower the left hand to the floor, pivot to the ball of the back foot, step yourself back to downward facing dog. Cycle through an up dog or cobra if you'd like. And then make your way back to downward facing dog. And you'll just notice, so we did quite a few of these. How is the body breathing? How are you breathing? How are you reacting to what's happening? Sometimes the mind can talk to us, but as long as we respond to the body, it can ground us, it can keep us present, reminding us that wherever we are is right where we need to be. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can move on. Next in-breath, sweep your right leg up and back. As you exhale, knee to nose. This time, plant your foot somewhere between your back foot and your hand. So it's just in the middle, it's awkward. You'll then shift your weight forward and lift your left leg parallel-ish to the floor. So now more weight is on your hands and your right leg. If you need your blocks, use your blocks. From here, let's go ahead and reach your heart and crown forward and parallel-ish to the floor. And you'll just find your warrior 3 variation here. So see if you can kick back through that left leg, reach forward through your crown. Hands are underneath your shoulders, taking a moment to pause and taking a moment to breathe, making sure left knee and left toes, yep, there you go, Julie, point straight down to the floor. Fantastic. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will bend your bottom leg, so that's your right leg, and then start to stack your left hip on top of your right hip. So top hip on top of bottom hip, yep. And then some of you will slowly start to unwind your left hand towards the left hip and maybe up towards the sky. And you're just noticing how this goes. Yeah. Left leg parallel-ish to the floor. There we go. And then as you're ready, you'll gently lower that left hand back to the floor, square your hips to the floor, bend your right knee, step your left foot to the back of your mat, plant your palms, and step your right foot back to downward facing dog. And you might stay there. You might cycle through. So you'll inhale coming forward into your plank pose, exhale through chaturanga, inhale into your baby cobra or up dog, and then exhale back to down dog. So Julie, you can do all of this with your hands against the wall. So then you don't have that on the inversion. Yeah, just like that. All right, let's go ahead and try the other side. So inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. Oh, you could stay there, Julie. And then exhale, step your knee to your nose and plant your left foot between your right foot and your hands. From there, you'll shift your weight forward into your hands, float your right leg parallel-ish to the floor. Great. So now see if you can lift your spine more parallel to the floor. So you're in your warrior 3 variation. Crown is reaching forward in opposition of tail and back heel. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will bend your bottom knee, that's your left knee, and then start to stack your right hip on top of your left hip. You might then start to push down into your left hand and draw your right hand to your right hip. You might then start to reach your right arm up towards the sky. And then you just pause and you breathe and you notice. Nice work. And then as you're ready, we'll gently lower the right hand back down to the floor. Square your hips to the floor. Bend your front knee. Step your right foot to the back of your space. Plant your palms. Step the left foot back to the back of your space. Downward facing dog. And then you'll inhale, come forward into your plank. Exhale through your chaturanga dandasana. Inhale into your cobra or up dog. Yeah. And then you'll exhale and make your way back to your downward facing dog when you're ready. And you're just noticing, how is the spine starting to warm up? How are you noticing the cobras happening? How are you noticing the legs opening? How is your breath working? Steve, see if you could find a little bit more length in your neck for me. So draw your chin slightly to your chest. Yeah, and then from there, reach your crown in direct opposition to your tailbone. Oh, there you go. Now push down from your shoulders into your hands. And see if you can still keep the shoulder blades, or rather the upper arm bones, externally rotating. Yeah. All right. Now, as you're ready, let's all take a big breath in. And as you exhale, bend the knees and make your way to your hands, however you want to get there. You might hop, you might step, you might float. It's totally up to you. Once you get there, separate your feet about hip distance apart. And then You might grab opposite elbow. You might grab the back of your head. You might stay in stillness. You might swing a little bit from right to left, but just notice what feels good to you here and now. Okay. And then as you're ready, let's come to stillness. Lower your hands to the floor. Bend just your right leg. Walk your hands forward into the outside edge of your right foot, so more like a upper right diagonal. And then with your left hip back, drop your head and maybe look underneath your left armpit to find a stretch happening, perhaps along the back of your left leg, left hip. You might even find it all the way into your left armpit, depending upon how your body's feeling. And then we'll gently release that. We'll come back through center, both legs straight-ish. Notice what you notice between the sides. And then we'll try that on the other side. So go ahead and bend just your left knee. Walk your hands over to the upper left corner of your space. Let your right hip go back. Draw your chin towards your chest. You might find a stretch just along the outside edge of the right hip, leg, hamstring. You might even find it up into your ribs and into your armpit area. So just finding a nice, gentle side body stretch there. Awesome. And then very gently come back through center. Now, as though you were molasses. Oh, wow. That helped you a lot, Sandy. Your hamstrings look a lot more open there. As though you were molasses, let your head be super heavy, and I want you to bend your knees and slowly roll up your spine. At some point, you'll notice that you have to push down into your feet and into your legs, but roll as slow as molasses. Slow as molasses. There we go. Slowly rolling all the way up, bone by bone by bone by bone. And you take as much time as molasses is working for you. And when you get to the top, you'll just take a moment to stand there and breathe and let the body continue to unwind. If that means that the shoulders need to do something, that means your neck needs to do something, that's great. Awesome. And then if your eyes are closed, gently open your eyes. Go ahead and turn to face the long edge of your space. So those of you that have windows, probably going to want to turn to face your window. Separate your feet about 3 feet apart. And then let's all start with our right leg. So go ahead and turn your right toes to face the short edge of your space. Turn your left toes to face towards that same direction. Bend your right knee, coming into a warrior 2 position. And then once your legs are set, you'll open your arms out for Virabhadrasana 2. Draw your outer right hip back, reach out through both arms evenly. And on your next in-breath, flip your right palm to face the sky. And then start to carve through space to take a reverse warrior. So your right arm is going to come up and back. Your left fingertips are going to probably touch somewhere on your left leg. And you're going to breathe deeply into that right side body, finding another stretch happening here. Nice long breaths. Notice what you can soften. Where you are is perfectly perfect. Next inhalation, let's come back up to warrior 2. And then as you exhale, go ahead and straighten your front leg long. Reach out through both arms evenly. And you'll start to draw your outer right hip back, hinging at your hips, reaching your right arm forward, and then lowering your right fingers towards the shin, to the block, or to a floor. And then notice that if you push down into the right hand, you can roll the right ribs under and wrap the right ribs under to find a little bit more extension and rotation through the spine for your triangle pose. Some of you will stay with that left arm up towards the sky. Some of you will reach your left arm alongside your ear. But you're going to take whichever pose feels best to you in terms of finding a sense of sensation and pleasure in the body and the breath. Fantastic. As you're ready, the left hand will come towards the floor. Then you're going to pivot both feet. Yep. towards the long edge of your mat so they're parallel. And you're going to come to Prasarita Padottanasana. So turn your right toes to the left. There you go. Left toes to the left. Find yourself in a wide forward fold. And then just take a few breath cycles here. So in this Prasarita, you might have both feet, Barbara, turn both feet parallel to the short edge of your mat. Here we go. You might stay here with your hands underneath your shoulders. You might walk your hands forward to find a down dog variation. Some of you might bend one knee and then the other, feeling what that feels like in your hips and in your legs. But you're just noticing what it feels like to be in this shape. Great. And when you feel complete doing whatever exploration you've been doing, let's go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. Let's all walk our hands underneath our shoulders. Come to the tips of your fingertips. Inhale, lift your spine parallel-ish to the floor. Bend your knees like a football player. Send your butt back, your heart forward. Yep, there we go. Then bring your hands to your hips. Draw the shoulder blades onto your back. Reach your sternum forward and inhale, come all the way up. Take a moment to just be there. Straighten the legs if possible. And then we'll go ahead and try this on the other side. So you'll now turn your left toes to face the short edge of your space, your right toes to face the same direction. Bend your left knee and find yourself coming into your Virabhadrasana 2. And so once your legs are set and pretty happy, then you'll extend out through the arms. And then you'll notice that, this back arm, so in this instance, our right arm tends to not be as active as our front arm. So see if you can find equal engagement through both. And then as you're ready, you'll flip your left palm to face the sky and inhale, carve through space to lower the right hand back towards the right thigh and find Viparita Virabhadrasana, so reverse warrior. And you'll just breathe here for a few breath cycles, continuing to bend into the front knee, finding a nice stretch along that whole left side body. Next inhalation, let's return to warrior 2. As you exhale, straighten your front leg long. And then you're going to reach out through both arms as you draw your hips back, hinging at the hips, reaching that left arm forward, out and down. The right arm sort of just trails up to the sky. And then with your left hand, either on the block, on your shin, or on the floor, you're going to push down into the left hand, roll the left ribs forward and under, the right ribs stack on top, and you might notice a little bit more of the rib cage opens on the right side. You can choose to stay here or turn your right palm forward and extend it alongside your ears, finding this nice long Utthita Trikonasana triangle pose. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what that feels like for you today in this moment. Gently, we're going to lower the right hand to the floor. Turn your left toes towards the right. So both feet are parallel to the short edge of your mat, and you'll find yourself back in Prasarita Padottanasana, wide-legged forward fold. Now this time, as you're in this wide-legged forward fold, I want you to notice what feels good to you this time. Again, you might choose to bend one knee and then the other. You might choose to lower your forearms to the floor this time. You might choose to walk the hands forward. You might choose to walk the hands back behind you. But you are taking a moment to notice what feels good to you and allowing yourself to settle into that movement, into that shape, or into that stillness, and letting that be completely okay. Yeah. Now, those that were in movement, gently, let's come into a point of stillness. All of us walk our hands underneath our shoulders. Inhale, come to the tips of your fingertips, reach your crown forward and your bum back. Go ahead and bend your knees like that football player, sending pubic bone back and heart and sternum forward. Yeah, look at that. And then as you're ready, you'll draw your hands to your hips. Draw the shoulder blades onto the back. Reach your tailbone back and inhale, come all the way up. Take a couple breath cycles to recalibrate to vertical. And then as you're ready, you'll turn your heels and your toes out. You'll bend your knees and sit for goddess pose, so horse stance. And put your arms wherever you want them. So some of you may keep your hands on your hips. Some of you may bring your hands to heart center. Some of you may take goalpost arms, but you put your arms wherever you want to so that it feels good to you, wherever you want to. And you're just going to breathe. You're going to sit low and you're going to breathe. We're going to be here for 3. We're going to be here for 2. We're going to be here for 1. As you're ready, inhale, straighten the legs, lower the arms, wiggle walk or hop your feet together, and just stand for a moment in Tadasana and just notice what it feels like to be where you are. Heart open, head lifted, eyes open. Yeah. All right. Nice work. Go ahead and turn to face the top of your space. Keep your feet parallel towards one another with a little bit of space between them. And you're going to do the most awkward thing on the face of the planet. I want you to just bend your knees and try to touch your butt to your heels. Bend your knees and touch your butt to your heels. Bend your knees and touch your butt to your heels. Fantastic. If you can keep the soles of your feet on the floor, great. You might just let your chest hang over your knees in this primitive squat position to just let the upper back round with the support of the knees underneath. It's also supposed to be pretty good for our knees and our hips and our back to sit like this every now and again. And you'll just breathe here for 3 or 4 breath cycles. At the end of your next exhalation, you're going to slowly just descend the butt to the floor and roll the spine up to vertical. You might want to bring your hands back behind you, fingertips pushing down into the floor, heels of the hands closer towards your bum than your fingertips are, and heart reaches up. Just a little chest opening after we did that forward fold. And then we'll gently come out of that. If you want, you might put a blanket underneath your pelvis and you'll sit on your blanket as you extend your legs long in front of you. Great. And once you're perched up on that blanket, let's go ahead and bend both of our knees and draw the soles of our feet together. And you might need to shift around a little bit so it feels like both sit bones are equally rooted onto your floor. And then you'll pull your hands into the tops of the feet, pull the heart forward, draw the shoulder blades down the back and lift up through the spine, and just breathe here for a moment in this Baddha Konasana position. Great. Now, release your hands, extend your right leg forward so it's long, and then draw your left heel closer towards the inside edge of your right thigh. If you need to move the flesh from underneath your left hip, go ahead and do that. And then from here, hands are framing your front foot, your right leg. Inhale, lengthen up through the crown, and you can either roll down or you can hinge forward. You choose which way feels better to you. And you're going to come forward for Janu Shirshasana, head to knee pose. And you're just going to breathe here for a few breath cycles. And you'll notice what you notice. How does the body feel? How does it feel right here, right now? How is your breath? Are you holding the breath or is it flowing effortlessly? Is the inhale long? Is the exhale long? Are they equal in length? At the end of your next exhalation, gently release the hands to the floor and start to walk yourself back to a vertical position. When you find your spine vertical, just pause there for a moment, again, allowing the spine and the vestibular system to recalibrate. And then when you're ready, you'll switch sides. So you can go ahead and extend your left leg forward for a moment. And then bend the right knee, drawing the right sole of the foot into the inner left thigh. You might need to remove any flesh from underneath your right hip. And then with your hands framing your left leg, make sure your left foot is active so the toes are pulling back to the knee is pulling up to the hip. You might either hinge forward at the hip or you might decide to roll down the spine, coming over that left leg. And you'll just pause and you'll breathe and you'll notice what you notice as you're here in Janushir on this left side. Yeah. And then again, how's the breath? How calm, how smooth, how seamless is the breath? Very gently, you'll turn the palms to the floor, start to walk the hands back, start to roll the spine up. When the head is stacked over the pelvis, you might take a pause there for just a few breaths to let the system catch up. Great. And then when you're ready, go ahead and extend the right leg long to meet the left. From here, the hands will come back behind us. Doesn't matter which orientation because we'll just be here for a second. Cross one leg over the other, does not matter which one. Then you're going to bend your knees and draw your heels underneath your feet or underneath your knees in order to sit for Sukhasana. Once you're there, you might need to remove flesh from underneath your sit bones. And then we're going to take a gentle twist from here. So your right hand is going to touch your shins in the middle in front of you. The left hand will come back behind you. Inhale, lift up through the spine. And then exhale, you're going to start to rotate to your left. And as you start to rotate to the left, the right hand might want to come towards the left knee, and that's totally fine. And you're just going to breathe here for a few breath cycles. So you're still rooting down into your right hip. Your right shoulder is coming towards your left inner knee. You're drawing the low belly back on the left side. And if you can, imagine that you're looking out through the back of your head and you're trying to get the back of your head to look towards your right shoulder. Nice work. On your next in-breath, gently unwind. Come back to center, let both hands rest on their respective knees, and just take a few breaths here. And then as you're ready, hands will come back behind you. You'll extend the legs in front, keeping whatever leg was on top before, then uncross the legs, and then we'll switch sides. So the opposite leg crosses over, and you'll bend the knees and draw the feet underneath your knees. Sit tall. Remove any flesh that you need to from underneath your spine. And then this time, left hand comes to the center of your shins. Right hand comes back behind you towards the right. Inhale, lift up through your spine. And then exhale, start to rotate towards your right. You might find that as you're going towards the right, the left hand wants to touch the right knee. And if so, that's great. The right hand might also move a little further back, and that's okay too. And you're just going to lift up through the spine. Draw your awareness to the back of your head and imagine you had eyeballs in the back of your skull and see if you can see out through and over that left shoulder. You're just pausing and you're breathing, rooting into the left hip, scooping the belly on the right side. And then very gently, you'll inhale and unwind, come back through center, resting both hands on their respective knee. And just take a few breath cycles there, letting everything catch up. Fantastic. Now, as you're ready, hands come back behind you. Shift your weight back, extend your legs forward, and then uncross the ankles if they're still crossed. From here, you might need to scoot your butt forward so that you're coming towards the long edge of your mat. And then you're going to slowly roll all the way down to your back, bone by bone by bone by bone. Once you find yourself all the way back onto your back, you might bend your knees and plant the feet firmly on the floor, feet outside of the hips. Let your knees knock in towards each other. And then notice if you want to rest the hands on the abdomen, on the heart, or if you want to wrap the arms, giving your spine a hug. But we'll just take 3 to 4 breaths here. And you just notice what you notice here. Letting everything just catch up. So one of the things I noticed this week was when I travel, it makes me very anxious. Like there's just a lot of movement. It feels like I should be as frenetic and moving around as other people. But the thing is, wherever you are, at whatever pace you're going is actually where you as a person need to be. And that's like perfectly okay. And the more that we can remember that there's our pace and that is amazing, I think the easier it makes certain aspects of life, including travel. Now, as we're finding ourselves here, let's go ahead and open both arms out into a T shape. Keep your right foot as it is. Cross your left thigh over your right thigh like you're sitting in a dress. You want your thighs to touch. And then you're going to pull both legs over towards your left. So the right leg isn't going to want to go, but you're going to pull both legs over towards the left. Yep, and you're just finding this gentle IT band stretch along that right leg. You might then find a little bit more twist in the upper spine by drawing your left shoulder towards the left a little bit more so the right shoulder blade can come to the floor. And just pause and breathe. And then as you're ready, you'll inhale and you'll come back up to center. Take a moment to uncross the legs. Widen the feet. And then you'll try all that on the other side. So now you'll cross the opposite leg over. So this time, and then you'll pull the legs to that same side. So go to the other direction, Barbara. There we go. And then you just pause and you breathe. And if you need to slide your right shoulder a little bit more towards the right so that the left shoulder naturally can come to the mat, that's great. You just pause and you breathe. And then on your next in-breath, let's gently bring ourselves back up to center. Uncross the legs. Make sure your bum is underneath your crown. From here, go ahead and bring both knees into the chest, Apanasana, wind relieving pose. You might stay here and gently rock a little bit right to left. And then go ahead and come to stillness. Bring your hands through the inner edges of the thighs, grab the outer edges of the feet. Press the soles of your feet together. Draw the heels as close to your face as possible while keeping your bum really rooted on the floor. And then see how far you can widen your knees. So you're in this weird Supta Baddha Konasana. So same position we were in just a few moments ago. And just notice how this might feel different. How's the shoulders? Are they creeping up towards the ears? Some of you will choose to stay here because it can feel nice in the inner thighs and groins. Some of you will draw the knees towards the floor, the feet towards the sky, and take Ananda Balasana, happy baby. But you'll choose based on what feels good to you. And your babies might be still babies. Your babies might be rocking babies. And then very gently, You'll draw your knees together. You'll come out of this shape. And then just for a few breaths, just extend your legs up towards the sky, arms wherever you want them to be. Great. And then take a moment to check in and find out if there's anything else that would feel great to you. And then if there is, go ahead and explore that shape or those shapes. And then you'll start to make your way to your final resting pose. Some of you might want to stay here with this version of waterfall or legs up the wall pose. You might choose to stay here. You might come down and want to do Supta Baddha Konasana with the blocks. You might want to go to a regular Shavasana, or you might want to go back to constructive rest. But you choose what works best for you, knowing that whatever shape you've chosen, wherever you are perfectly in the right place. Right. And if you're still working, you still work, and then you'll start to make your way to your final resting pose. Those of you that have made your way to your final resting pose, I'd like you to start by giving yourself permission to be fully in this pose, meaning fidget around until it feels like you can be super comfortable in the shape or the position that you happen to find yourself in. And then once you've found the equanimity between the right and the left sides of the body, notice if you can bring all of your awareness to where you are. So specifically, you'll start by noticing what's happening in your feet. Notice what's happening in your ankles. How do your shins and your calves feel? How do your knees feel? Is there any extra softness you can bring to your thighs, your legs? Can you find a sense of ease in the hips and the pelvis? What do you notice happening in the belly and the low back? What's happening in the mid back, the ribs? Observe the chest, the upper back, the shoulders. Notice what's happening in the arm bones, the elbows, the forearms. How are your wrists, your fingers, and your fingertips? Coming back to the center of the spine, notice what's happening in the neck. How is the jaw, the tongue, the back of the skull, the front of the face? Notice what's happening at the crown of the head and along the scalp. Now, as you're here, I'd like you to just continue to breathe and be with. Be with you however you are, trusting that where you are is where you're meant to be. I'll go ahead and leave you with yourself for a few more moments and a few more breaths. And I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, take a few moments to just check in. If there's any part of you longing to linger here, by all means, please stay here. When you are ready to move on with your day, gently allow small movement to re-enter into your physical form. Gently start to make your way to one of your sides and pause there for a few breaths. Roll your chest more towards the floor. Press into your top hand and start to walk your spine up to vertical. When you are vertical, take the opportunity to sit well on a block or a blanket. And then either with the gaze closed or the eyes soft, notice what it feels like to stack your shoulders over your hips, your ears over your shoulders, to relax your tongue and your jaw. And then we'll go ahead and place your left hand on your heart and stack your right hand right on top. And we'll just take 3 breath cycles here. Life is such an interesting thing. I think each and every one of us is always on the verge of discovering something new. And sometimes that discovery can be exciting. Sometimes it can be less than exciting. No matter what you're discovering, no matter where you are, I think it's helpful for us to remember that there's nothing wrong with where we are and that where we are is perfectly okay. And that it's from where we are that we have the greatest potential to not only be who we are, but to allow the gift of who we are to be shared with others. So we'll just take 3 more breath cycles here, you breathing into the gift that you are just for being who you are, where you are, as you are. And then as you're ready, we'll gently bring our hands to Heart Center Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of your thumbs into your sternum and then lift your heart towards your hands. Soften your chin slightly towards your hands and gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light, the breath within me honors and salutes the light and the breath within each of you. Namaste.